Yep, fat is making you fat. You need healthy fats, including saturated ones, but it's more than twice the caloric density of carbs or protein. And fat can be really sneaky and creep up on you when you least expect it. Check this out, 4 ounces of deluxe mixed nuts versus 4 ounces of 85/15 beef. They each have about the same amount of protein, but those innocent looking nuts have 6 times the fat. So it's just basic math. No matter how good a fat is, it's going to bump your calories up twice as fast. All right, so it's time for some fat busting fixes. In order to get anywhere, you got to know where you're at. So you've got to track your calories and macros for a while. Get yourself a tracker. I've got a great one on the App Store. But whichever one you get, it's going to show you where your calories are coming from, and you're going to have to adjust. So because of math, for our fat fixes, we're going to have to do one or the other, reduce or replace. Obviously, the white meats, chicken and turkey breasts, are legendary for their high protein and low fat content. But let's do something a little more interesting. How about some stuffed bell peppers? Notorious because, generally speaking, you're going to have some cheese and beef. These are high-fat foods, so we're going to have to do something. We don't want to get rid of the cheese. Maybe we'll lower it. But here's where we can work a little bit of magic. The beef. You could reduce the fat by doing this, cutting it up and browning it inside a pan. Unfortunately, unless you're using really, really small batches, it's basically going to stew in its own juices. The steam can't get away and the fat doesn't render out well enough. Here's a lot better way to get the fat out. Spread the ground beef out on a baking sheet. It gives the heat more surface area to hit, and also the steam will be able to get away so that the meat can brown and get that Maillard effect, so it's nice and tasty. So put it under the broiler on high and the steam will come off, the meat will brown, and the fat will render out. So you can just pour it out. Even better is to put some towels down on the pan and put a rack on there, and then the juices will go through and you can just throw it all away. Either way, you wind up with some nicely browned meat with all the fat rendered off. Well, at least most of it anyways. Here's what you end up with. 2 pounds of 85/15 ground beef reduced to 1 pound 3.4 ounces. The protein's the same, but the fat's been reduced by a third or a half if you squeeze it out. So now that I've added in all my other ingredients, rice and sautéed vegetables and spices, I'm going to divide this up into 8 servings. So now each of these pepper halves will be stuffed with the equivalent of 1/4 pound of 85/15, and the fat went from 18 to 9 grams because I squeezed it out. So now you bought yourself a little bit of luxury. You can put on some really nice cheese, or you can still use a low-fat cheese. In this case, I'm going to use a full-on cheddar. I'm going to put about a half an ounce on each one of these. So now the total fat for each serving has gone from 25 grams down to 16. Saved 81 calories. I call that a win. No, Bob doesn't high five. Break time. Okay, this is where a lot of people completely screw up. And it's understandable. If you mess up one day, just keep in mind, it's only a snapshot of your entire week. Just make up for it the rest of the week. But if you're super strict for too long, you're going to fall off the wagon. So sometimes a planned break is a good thing. Go ahead and enjoy yourself every once in a while. All right, let's get back on track. Creamy dairy fats are a tough one. Generally, you're going to have to reduce them. But there are a couple tricks. Let me show you. Cream cheese is actually a decent replacement for butter. 1 tablespoon of butter is 12 grams of fat. 2 tablespoons of cream cheese is only 10. And as an added bonus, you get 2 grams of protein with the cream cheese. This is one of my favorite tricks if you really want to cut the fat. Take a couple tablespoons of 2% cottage cheese and then mix in your favorite jam. I just use this kind of low-carb blueberry one. It doesn't have fake sugar. It's still really low in carbs because I'm only using a teaspoon. This one really cuts the fat down. It brings it down to, yes, you're reading that right, less than 1 gram of fat. It tastes kind of like cheesecake. It's actually really good. You need to try this one. And you can do the same thing with unflavored Greek yogurt. Put a teaspoon of the jam inside there, mix it up, and you get a nice creamy treat with a lot less sugar than the kind that are already flavored from the store. And there are all kinds of recipes out there for making frozen treats out of cottage cheese and so forth. And I'm probably going to do some videos on that. But you get the idea. These kind of ideas can really break the monotony and help satisfy some of your cravings. I want to take just a little bit less than a minute and show you my app that I have on the App Store. It is really cool. It's perfect for dieting or checking out your macros. First, you fill out your profile, fill in your activity level. Then you decide what kind of diet you want to be on. It's got 3 different choices: balanced, keto, and high protein. Then you just choose whether you want to lose weight, maintain your weight, or gain your weight. Then the calculator does all the calculations and figures out your daily macro goals. Then all you got to do is just start adding foods. You can use the camera AI that's included, and you can fill in all the details without having to do any typing, which is cool. Then you build up your personal library very quickly, and then you just add the foods every day and hit your goals. And if you're into meal prep like I am, then the calendar is perfect for you. You can plan out your days in advance, so it's much easier to hit your macros. Take notes on your weight and how you're responding. You'll love it. So if you're on your computer, you can scan the QR code, or the link is in the description. One low one-time price. Camera AI included. No subscription, family sharing included. Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe and share it with somebody else who might appreciate the content. Until next time, keep at it. You will get there, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.